Hello, welcome back to the Agone Institute of Sports Ministry and the 21st Century Models of Sports Ministry course. I'm Dr. Greg Linville. I'm privileged to serve as your professor, along with my comrade, Tim Conrad. We are talking about the Stud Brothers, muscular Christians, world-class cricketers. And last time we talked about Kynaston Stud, who helped influence his younger brother, C.T. Stud, to come to faith in Christ and also to learn some things about ministry and sports ministry. So you're going to be on the 7th page of your PowerPoint notes, and we remind you, if you're taking this for credit, you need to fill in the blanks fully. You need to take additional notes that are all of exam quality. C.T. Stud was, as I said, a world-class cricketer. He played on the prep schools and in the college, Cambridge, and even on the national team. Probably was the best of the three brothers. Perhaps George maybe was there, but they certainly are all very good. And C.T. was part of England's best ever cricket team that included W.G. Grace. And you see a picture of that group, and he and his brothers were named captains of the Cambridge team in successive years, George in 82, C.T. in 83, and J.K. in 84. Well, you can see that the costumes of that era, and you can see the era is quite different, but yet there's much that we can learn from that era about what we are to do today and in the future. But let's start with C.T.'s coming to faith. As we mentioned last time, his father was influenced by D.L. Moody when Moody went to England to have and hold all of his evangelistic crusades. He was also influenced by his brother J.E.K. and Kynaston. And in early 1886 or 7, C.T. just had a remarkable turnaround. It influenced his entire life. You can see in the pictures this palatial estate of which he was raised and born into and lived for a lot of his life. But upon coming to Christ, he gave away his inheritance, £5,000 to Moody, George Holland, George Mueller, and the Salvation Army. You can see that he gave away massive fortunes. In those days, it would be equivalent to hundreds of thousands of dollars today. And you can see then in the inset picture the tent, the hovel that he lived in then for much of his life as he gave away his inheritance. What caused this change? Obviously, Jesus Christ coming into his life. Now, he was a missionary, and you see a picture there of the Cambridge 7 that became known for going to China on the mission field. And then he also went to India from 1900 to 2006. The brothers got hold of those phrases and those ideals that were born out of the Northfield conferences. Remember, we talked about the North Atlantic Corridor, and Moody came to England, Kynaston Stud goes to America, and then others go back and forth. And those phrases, all to go and go to all to go and go to all. The evangelization of the world in our lifetime. These student volunteer missionary societies that grew out of these muscular Christianity era people. And C.T. Stud was greatly influenced by this. And as he went to China and he went to England, he used his cricketing excellences to be able to, his abilities, his athleticism to communicate, to build relationships and to establish relationships. I wouldn't say that he used it exclusively, but I would say that he definitely was recognizable by the people in those communities, and that as a cricketer, as an athlete, and that gave him the relationship that he needed. But he eventually lived in the Nile region for years, up until his death, and in fact didn't see his family for decades. Picture of the people that he was working with now comes up on the next, it would be the 10th one in this series. But before he did that, he spoke all over England to YMCAs and to brotherhoods from '06 to '08. And then he went to a region amongst cannibals in 1910 in the Upper Nile region. So you see this missionary moving out. I'd like to just give you this proposal that he gave to his wife. And he wrote wonderful love letters, upwards of 69 pages, a very small script. But I'd like to give you his proposal to his beloved Priscilla, a beautiful Scottish woman, Priscilla Stewart. Here's a quote. "You have neither the mind of God nor the will of God in this matter, but I have. And I intend to marry you whether you will it or not. So you just better make up your mind and accept the situation." That's his proposal. What was her response? She said, "What was I to do?" Well, Priscilla was a very lovely girl of Scottish descent, and she did support CT all of their married lives, even all of those years that he was overseas. She not only raised his daughters, but she raised the finances for him to stay on the mission field. Now, it was quite a different era. And it's true that he did not see his family for years at a time. And he died probably prematurely, in human terms anyway, because of his failing health. You see him here in this picture as a young and robust man, but you see this one with a man that was old and grizzled from a very harsh life that he lived in the jungles of Africa. Now, certainly there are many positive examples in his life. Giving it all to Jesus, going on the mission field, taking it on the mission field. And certainly one of the models for the 21st century is to be a sports minister missionary to the world. And his athletic approach to life, to leave it all on the field. Have you not heard that many times in our athletic world? And this was the kind of thing that he was able to then take into all the world. He transferred those athletic truisms and those athletic metaphors and those athletic lessons into missionary work. Here's a quote. "I want to be one of those who doesn't care," yes, he uses a damn, "except to give my life for Jesus and souls." This was how clear he was. And he would work 18 to 20-hour days on the mission field. It was most often difficult to work with, sometimes because he had such a zeal. In fact, this would be how his daughters and his son-in-laws described him. In fact, his son-in-law wrote the biography, Norman Grubb, and here's a quote. "There was no let-up, no diversions, no days off, no recreation." he literally destroyed his earthly temple from all of his overwork, lack of care for his physical body. A litany of illnesses and physical problems, such as losing his teeth, worsened under his self-sacrificing pushing. So much so that he became addicted to morphine to control the pain. And by the end, he had to be removed from the mission field by what was then called the Worldwide Evangelization Crusade, WEC. Yes, models of the 21st century sports ministry. We learn a lot of what we should do and sometimes what we shouldn't do. What are the models that we can glean from CT? Well, use our prowess of athletics and our athletic positions to enhance our missions, to initiate our ministries, and join with others like he did with the Cambridge 7 on these missions. Because as we join with others, we can have a greater impact. And yes, we should be willing to impact for Christ by sacrificially giving everything for Christ's sake. But also the neglect of our family, the neglect of our health are detrimental. I think we also can learn that he left athletics, and that does not have to happen. We don't have to leave athletics to continue to be in ministry, to communicate that we give all for Jesus, but rather we can allow our athletics to be used for Jesus Christ. Okay, so now let's bring this all home. We're studying muscular Christian pioneers so that we can envision our ministries for the 21st century and beyond. What's really important in your notes is not so much to fill in the blanks, but yes, you need to do that to get a good grade, but more so to get an excellent grade. What are you learning from these models? What are you learning in terms of what could be a model, possibly to take an overseas mission trip with college athletes or others? But what are you learning in terms of your own personal life? What are you learning from their models of what to do and what not to do to create models today? I'm Dr. Greg Linville. Thanks for taking this course with the Agone Institute of Sports Ministry.